Let me ask you a question. What deems, in my opinion, a show to deserve a TV movie? A TV movie is similar to a feature film. Usually, a TV movie is a lot shorter, from 90 minutes to even 2 hours long. A TV movie generally portrays a bigger plot and circumstances with raised production values. Some of these examples include the Ed, Edd n Eddy Big Picture Show and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. These examples have gone on to have great successes. I wouldn't say that a TV movie is a downgrade or a demotion from a feature film, because good art is good art. However, not every network will create a big movie for theatrical release because they might lose money. As much as I love Clarence, it's never going to get the same numbers as your average Pixar film with the movie. However, the advantage of a TV movie is that you already have the preconception that the program was made for TV, therefore lower risk. So what qualities should a show have to deserve a TV movie? Welcome to a segment on the animation block of the Alpha J Show called Open-Ended. It's a more technical and analytical segment where I, the Alpha J, decide to discuss certain meta topics of reviewing, analyzing, or critiquing. I wouldn't call these tips because I only present my thoughts in a casual manner, stripping anything down to the essential parts. So let's get down to it. Please keep in mind that I'm not talking about what should be in this hypothetical TV movie. I'm talking about what a cartoon should have to deserve the TV movie. Also keep in mind that finances will not be taken into account. Let's assume that the network making the TV movie has more than enough to produce it. The first thing that the cartoon should be at is at the height of its popularity in a relative sense. The relative part is important. When I say heights of popularity, I don't mean that the cartoon should be the most popular cartoon of its time period. Every cartoon has its peak, and whenever that peak is when the TV movie should be in production. This may be hard to find out because viewerships can just rise and rise without no indication that it's going to slow down to a absolute peak. But if it's very clear that public interest is high for the show, then it's most likely the best time to produce said TV movie, provided that the show is good. For example, I like to think that Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is much more popular overall than Mighty Magic Swords, but Mighty Magic Swords is much more popular relatively than Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, because more eyes are seeing Mighty Magic Swords than Foster's. So when I mean popular at this moment. Another factor that this cartoon needs to have is the ability to work in a longer format. TV movies should have a bigger plot and therefore a longer time to be able to comfortably develop. The length of a TV movie is one of the most easiest distinctions between a special and a regular episode. Also, even though it's not a theatrical release, a TV movie should still have a big plot. Certain shows work well with this, such as Adventure Time, Billy and Mandy, and Jimmy Neutron in my opinion. Even when SpongeBob makes a special, some of them, like Dunces and Dragons, work out very well in a longer format. Even shows who I personally would have never thought to work out in a longer format, such as Phineas and Ferb, seem to work great in other specials. But then there's shows that probably would not work well in a longer format without big changes in character development, such as Fanboy and Chum Chum, Wabbit, Mighty Magic Swords, even Tom and Jerry in my opinion. The potential of working in a longer format depends on many factors, such as how the characters adjust in serious environments, the general format on how the show will go, and even how the characters generally respond to the environment around them. I'm not saying that Uncle Grandpa can't make a good TV movie, but if they were to try to stretch out to 90 minutes or 2 hours, some major changes to how the characters respond would be needed. Some shows work purely in 11-minute or 22-minute chunks because they might be too silly or formulaic. Some series don't flesh out their characters beyond the status quo, so that leaves a lot of mystery on the table on how they would venture in not only a longer format, but a format that might not be suited to how the episodes usually go. For example, in Wabbit, Bugs Bunny in that incarnation works well in the 11 minutes because it is short enough to get across that he's annoying or saving or interacting with someone for comedy. When you extend that to 60 or 90 minutes, not only will you get bored, but you'd probably have to have a bigger overarching plot, which means that version of Bugs Bunny has to develop fully for the first time, and the execution will be awkward at best and abysmal at worst. The third factor that would help a lot with determining which cartoons get a TV movie is if it's the forefront of the network or not. Now, this is different from the height of popularity, because even shows like Johnny Test, SpongeBob, Phineas and Ferb, and Teen Titans Go, which were all given lots of great treatment from their networks, were not at the peak of popularity all throughout their seasons. The reason why this factor is important is because in this era of cartoons, the big cartoon giants such as Disney, Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network seem to pour a lot more of their money into their cash cows, arguably disproportionately in comparison to their other shows. So knowing this, it would only seem logical that if this is the business norm, then the show that gets the most opportunities should just have the TV movie. Now, I'm not saying I agree with their business practice. I personally feel like the cash cows of each network get way more resources than they really need, and that the shared resources that each network has should be better distributed. But this doesn't only apply to money, but also with time. Time is a resource that a lot of cartoons are lacking. I'm not saying that a lot of resources make for a great TV movie. Look at Food Fight, for example. I am saying, however, that the more resources allow for more options, and it solves one financial barrier and leaves a lot of work to the creative end. For example, with SpongeBob, Nickelodeon makes a lot of money, so ideally they'll pour said money into the show for a TV movie than, let's say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It only makes sense, ideally. I really want to emphasize that, because the world doesn't always work this way, that they would push their cash cows to even greater heights with a TV movie. The last factor that would really help is if the show has had a history of great specials. Now, there are many ways I would determine if a special is considered great or not. First and most obvious, did people like it? If people generally thought that the special was poor, then creatively it struggled. Did the special succeed financially? How were the ratings? Did it receive good numbers when released on DVD? The companies who participate in these movies care a lot about numbers. So if the specials that were produced before the TV movie, or if a series already had a TV movie released in the past, did well, then that is an indication or a good step in the right direction of making another one, or the first one, depending on what the case is for the cartoon. If a TV special's production behind the scenes was effective and workable, that's another good sign. If it was a pain to get many TV specials out, then increasing the difficulty of producing an animated TV movie is only asking for delays, rushed work, or even a cancellation of the project. And that's bad if they announce the project early on and have to cancel it. The disappointment isn't worth it. But networks love data and love to play it safe. This is probably the weakest of my points because the past doesn't necessarily determine the future of a series or the potential of this hypothetical TV movie. Plus, in this type of industry, your flops and failures do get taken into account. For example, if Teen Titans Go did very well with its Island special, two-parter, and crossover, then a TV movie might do just as well, provided they put in the amount of effort they put in with the other specials. So which cartoons do I think deserve TV movies? Easy. Any cartoon that would reasonably have these factors. I made it this way because it's more open-ended, no pun intended, no rhyme intended, to appeal to any time that you watch this video. Maybe I might come back to this topic later on when my knowledge on the inner workings of a cartoon expand. You may have noticed that some of these factors overlap. Maybe a show is known for working in a longer format because it had great TV specials. Maybe a show is both at the forefront of the network and the peak of its popularity. I personally think having 3 of the 4 qualities above would make for a safe and reasonable pick for a TV movie. Having all 4, of course, would make it even better. But not every show will get to have specials or be at the forefront of their network, so I decided to be lenient on it. Also, this isn't a guarantee. I did sit back and think about what would make good qualities for a TV movie, but none of this is 100%. But what do you think? What points do you think I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at The Alpha J Show and join my Discord. Both will be in the description below. I give a lot of channel updates and I'm pretty active on my Discord, so feel free to shoot me questions either way. And feel free to support me in any way you feel in the comment section below. If you really like this video, I highly suggest my Open-Ended playlist. It has these broad analytical questions. I personally recommend my Adult Swim video. As always, feel free to subscribe, that will be there, and consider my Patreon. All considerations are greatly appreciated. And as always, I hope your time is well spent. And Alpha out.